Naughty Dog, developers of the quite frankly awesome games Uncharted, Last of Us and obviously Crash Bandicoot, have claimed that HDR is the future of gaming. In fact, the PS4 has just received an update which enables HDR support, and the PS4 Pro will support it when released in November. So what is HDR and why we, the gamers, should care about it? Firstly, HDR stands for High Dynamic Range. You may have noticed the option on your mobile phone camera. It actually refers to a scene with both bright and dark elements. I must admit I never really used the option much as I had no idea what it did. HDR is supposed to make the games have a natural look, and I must admit playing Last of Us was creepy enough without the clickers looking more realistic. However, not all TVs are HDR. 4K TVs are slowly becoming the standard, but not all of them support HDR. I've noticed a sizable price difference between standard 4K sets and HDR sets. Is it worth getting a HDR set though if there isn't much content available yet? I'll come back to that bit in a bit. 4K is more about the pixels, whilst HDR is more about the quality of the pixels. There are, however, different standards of HDR. Okay guys, here's the techie stuff. There are currently 10 and 12-bit sets. HDR sets must have a standard resolution of 3840 by 2160. Standard HD TV sets use an 8-bit panel which has been in use for the past 25 years. Chances are you played your old PlayStation or Nintendo 64 on a set that supports this standard. I know I must have done. There are however two main standards, HDR10 which is 10-bit and secondly Dolby Vision which is a 12-bit set. You will likely find the majority of TV manufacturers will support the HDR10 standard. In fact, from what I've discovered, all 4K Blu-ray discs support it. I wouldn't worry too much though, as Dolby Vision is compatible with HDR10, but it does need extra hardware like CPUs to cope with the extra brightness. It's not just Sony giving their games HDR. Microsoft's Xbox One S supports it, and likely Scorpio will too. Games and HDR Ultra Blu-ray discs are compatible with a console, as well as streaming services such as Netflix. In fact, Gears of War 4 and Forza Horizon have been announced to support HDR. Unfortunately, it would appear that Sony's PlayStation 4 Pro will not support HDR Ultra Blu-ray discs, as they believe the majority of their users will be streaming online. Not a huge issue, but still something to be aware of. Great news though. Naughty Dog have announced that they're working on HDR patches for two of their titles, Uncharted 4 and The Last of Us Remastered. Not that I need another reason to replay them, but the HDR could improve the atmosphere somewhat. Naughty Dog also claim that in the near future all games will feature HDR, as it requires little effort to implement, although I do wonder if the frame rate might take a hit. It might also be worth noting that games or films that were not created with HDR in mind will not give any benefits running on a HDR TV or console, so maybe hold off replaying any of your PS4 collection until they receive updates. Netflix has some HDR content on their website along with Amazon, but I found it really tricky to find anything worthwhile. I also found some HDR content on YouTube, but again it feels like a bit of a novelty at the minute. Several HDR Blu-rays are available, but again won't be playable on the PS4. Sony seem to think the future is streaming, so maybe this will pay off in the long run. If you are looking out for a 4K HDR, look out for these names. These really help me in figuring out what sets are actually HDR. As I said earlier, avoid the 8-bit sets. Anyway, I hope that's helped figure out whether HDR is right for you. As an early adopter, you're going to pay a premium for the service. I'll keep an eye on them in the future and decide whether it's the right time to grab one, as at the minute I'm pretty happy with how my games and movies look like on a 1080p screen. The lack of content doesn't help either, as I'm a big movie fan. It might be worth holding on till more content and games support the HDR standard. What do you guys think? Are you going to jump into the 4K HDR boat, or do you think it's a pointless gimmick? Give me your comments below. Thanks for watching.